My name is Andre, and I will be your moderator today. This session will have 3 talks. The first one is going to be information delivery for the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure using openBIM, delivered by Sinan Alemdar. The second one would be standardizing the information flows in public client organization, case FTIA from Tarmo, Savolainen. And the third one would be implementing digital project delivery with openBIM in the US transportation industry, delivered by William Sharp. This session is scheduled to last 90 minutes, including time for questions at the end. The session is being recorded and will be made available in the replay section of the event as soon as possible. Before I hand over to the speakers, I would like to remind you that this is a hybrid event. For online attendees, your microphones will remain muted for the duration of the session. If you wish to make a comment or ask a question, please use the chat box in the control panel. For the attendees here in the room, please keep background noise to a minimum, and if you wish to make a comment or ask a question, please raise your hand and use a microphone. I would also like to bring to your attention that buildingSMART is committed to ensuring that participation in the development of standards is unrestricted and the process for their adoption is transparent, and standards that are developed do not favor any particular provider and are open, non-binding, and accessible to all. Please take note of our antitrust code of conduct. And now I would like to hand over to Sinan Alemdar.
Yes, hello everyone and dear participants. It's a great honor for me to share with you today the digital transformation journey carried out on behalf of the Ministry of Transport and Infrastructure of Turkey. In today's presentation, I will explain the development of information delivery platform, how its integration with openBIM standards play a main role in Ministry digital infrastructure strategy. Yes, I'm Sinan Alemdar from EMI International Engineering and Consultancy Company, and information delivery platform that I mentioned before, which my company and my team developed. I would like to briefly introduce my company, just briefly. EMI was founded in 1980, and it's one of the Turkey's leading engineering and consultancy company. We have delivered service for more than 250 major projects so far, with over 1,500 technical staff. And as you know, in the AEC sector, the most significant transformation today is driven by data-centric processes. Turkey aims to manage its investments more efficiently and transparently through solutions based on AI, BIM, and data management. At the core of digitalization lies data with openBIM. This data is usable not only in design and construction, but also in operation and maintenance. This leads greater transparency, efficiency, and sustainability. Infrastructure projects also do not end with design and construction. They continue for decades through operation and maintenance. The critical point is transforming decision into data and making them usable at every stage. I want to talk about a little bit Turkey's BIM journey can be summarized in 4 stages. There is 4 periods, 2013 and 16, initial ideas, and then 16 to 19 metro project adoption, and 2020 and 24 partially mandatory use in transport project especially, and from today onward, openBIM integration. In 2014, 8 metro construction and 10 metro design projects for Ministry and Istanbul municipality were initiated the BIM specifications. This idea quickly led to real action, and in 2013, Steve started adding a clear definition of BIM to their project proposal. And then BIM requirements were included the construction project documents, and starting in 2016, public project began to use common data environment platforms more often to improve teamwork and share information. And then 2017, my company developed the first information management software for Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality to use in a railway project. And also in 2022, a GIS-powered nationwide information delivery management software, we call as UYS in Turkish and UYS, for infrastructure project was initiated Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure. Starting 2025, the journey will advance into its fourth period, marked by ongoing integration of openBIM strategies into UYS framework and beyond. Let me talk about UYS. Launched in 2022, as I mentioned before, Information Delivery Platform or Transportation Management System that we call as UYS is a central platform designed to navigate the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure extensive information delivery ecosystem. This system spans 5 key sectors: roads, high-speed railways, bridges, airports, communication, urban rail system, viaducts, and ports. And there are big projects. The main idea, it's effectively 5 sectors, manage more than 25 governmental institutions, and 70 consultant company, more than 2,600 contracts, and let's say 2,000 investment projects under a single system. This is the main idea. And this forms a comprehensive user ecosystem that coordinates information flow at all levels. I mentioned 25 institutions, so in the ministry, so over 2,000 active users, also ministries, municipalities, or engineering companies, or construction companies. And UYS consists of modules by function: project management, investment management, strategic planning, data management, and user management. And a crucial component of the platform is its GIS integration. UYS is built upon a robust GIS infrastructure with geometric data stored in PostgreSQL databases. The PostGIS extension is essential for processing and exporting this data. Published data is important for GIS server using SQL codes, where the visualization process takes place before being published to the front end of UYS. All vector data is based points, lines, and polygons, and system contains over 1,500 KML files. This data is visually displayed on UYS map screen. Our featured GIS interface allows for filtering all projects by province and vision projects from national transport and logistic master plan by sector. And the most important part also, the legislative framework. Effective BIM implementation necessitates a robust legislative framework. In this regard, the BIM technical specification ensures the integration of digital design construction activities that standards for digital deliveries, transport management, and responsibility matrix. This BIM technical specification published by Ministry for their institution to use the all tenders. And also the other legislative framework item also, the construction program specification mandates the generation of reports for key performance indicators, including product pace, cost extension, and overrun. This helps identify bottlenecks in both cash and physical progress. Also, it's a mandate from the ministry. And continuously update guides and templates ensure the common digital language. Both of specification you can download. Ministry and Istanbul Metropolitan Municipal Public BIM technical specification are available for download by all. I think that is in Turkish. So. And from now on, I want to talk about advancing the UIS platform through the openBIM framework. For openBIM integration, we have a distinct process map. This process begins with development of an information delivery specification IDS document. Models are then validated with audit tools and a PDF report generated, and the IFC model is stored and viewed in UIS. This is our future goals or process maps. And another goal is our BIM model viewer interface introduces a new user interface within the project management module that we have to view IFC models and validation reports. This forms a key objective for this year in our journey to integrate openBIM strategies into the UIS framework nationwide. So, let me summarize all presentation in 2 slides. Our achievement with UIS, we can summarize in 4 items. As you know, our achievement with UIS have been quite significant, with supervision over more than 3,000 contracts and more than 2,000 active users. And we have made some steps in big data management. This has enabled real-time budget and progress tracking through transparent and efficient information use. And we have a built geospatial data stock with over 1,500 KML files. This is the root of the whole project. This has resulted in optimization and increased productivity. Approximately 0.1% saving, roughly 10 million euros on an investment budget when we think about the whole budget 10 billion euros. So this demonstrates our significant impact on financial oversight and resources optimization. And our future goals for openBIM integration: to follow national standards, aiming to comply with ISO 19650, and to create a foundation for a digital twin by automatically checking models and combining BIM and GIS. This will let us see 3D models in GIS map. And to build a large collection BIM data by delivering IFC models and creating IDS schemas. This will help us complete better both nationally and internationally data-driven project. And to improve our technical standards, it's not easy, and under the guidance of buildingSMART Turkey, we are updating our BIM technical specifications to match the latest openBIM standard. We are also designing IDS schemas using the buildingSMART data dictionary. This is the most important, improving the quality of our digital assets and making sure organization can meet these new standards. And in conclusion, the UIS platform represents a pivotal moment in Turkey approaching managing large-scale infrastructure projects. Our future objective with openBIM integration are to align with international standards, enhance digital asset quality, and build a widespread information management culture across the sector. Yeah, thank you for your attention.
Thank you for your excellent presentation. Really impressive what you are doing. Just wanted to clarify, so everything is stored on your premises, on your servers. The entire solution is hosted by you?
Hosted in the ministry servers, a very secured or something. So very terrible story. But yes, it's in their server.
Excellent. Okay.
Not in cloud. Yeah.
Thank you.
If there are no questions, I would like to welcome to the stage Tarmo Savolainen.
Hello, good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Tarmo. I'm working for... something happened. Okay, I'm working for a Finnish Transport Infrastructure Agency, and I'm very happy to tell about our view for BIM and information management in our, especially in our project, but also about life science. I tell a little bit what is Väylävirasto, Finnish Transport Infrastructure Agency, about our BIM history, our BIM goals, what we have learned in our journey. First of all, a little bit about our agency. We are a state organization responsible for roads, railways and maritime routes in Finland. Finland is a country in the Northern Europe, and we are a very client organization. We are only 480 people working, but in our projects, in our processes, we are buying about 18,000 people working. So we are buying technically everything. We are just a client organization. This is our organization, very typical public organization. We have different divisions in the information management, where you can also say the silos. And we are working how the life cycle information could go through the silos. We have a planning department, which is planning the conceptual planning of the road network and rail network development. Then our division, project division's only purpose is to make the projects as efficient and as fast and as cost efficient as possible. And then there is an infrastructure management department, which are responsible for the routes and networks. And for example, road network 78,000 kilometers compared to the big project which is maybe 5 to 10 kilometers. The information needs are quite different. But our goal is digital twin. In last session, Leo Svoboda was talking about digital twin. What is digital twin? What's a digital model? We have defined it in the FTIA that digital twin consists of the digital model, which is all infrastructure, technical infrastructure. And then on top of that, there is lots of information, traffic information, safety information, weather information, and that all is digital twin. So we don't talk about one bridge project. Our organizational goal is that digital twin and real-time asset information management is 2030 better than it is now. So in project information view, our project information coming from design to construction is linked to the asset information management system someday with the push of the button. Not yet. And we also need real reliable information from design to construction and so on. And this needs changes in our processes. We have traditionally have very siloed processes with all those departments. Okay, very shortly, BIM development in Finland. I think in every country the building sector has started BIM development. It was already 2012, general BIM requirements came from the building sector. Infrastructure followed. 2010-2014 there was a big infrastructure BIM open development project where was generated the general infra BIM requirements for our country. We follow them in FTIA. We have made additions by our things. So actually our infra BIM history in FTIA is already 25 years, so it's a long time. It's not changing in one night. We started first preliminary studies already 2000, big development project nationally 2010-2014. Since that project has started to pilot BIM, and pilots has continued as a normal way of working in our project world. First BIM guideline was Bridge BIM guideline 2014, Road and Railway BIM guideline 2017, and then also we have been in BSI standardization work since 2015 or something like that. Tina maybe remembers better than me when he was working that time. Timaha model checking service was helping our project managers to handle BIM information requirements. We pilotized that earlier. And after that, we have actually updated our FTIA BIM requirements 2022. We have a tender BIM tool for our organization use. We have tender project information portal for our information for our organization's use. And the last one is the new version of Timaha information data qualifying service. This is very shortly our history. And now we are working with our infra BIM requirements. There's a book or guideline for the road and railways, and book or guideline for the bridges, and they are over there. Unfortunately, they are only in Finnish. But why do our projects use BIM? I think our project managers have already learned and rehearsed using BIM in the projects already quite many years. And this, for example, this project where the picture is, it's highway number 6, Korea renovation project or new renovation. And I think the main reason is cost savings. When you are optimizing design in every phase of the project. When you are production control is BIM-based, it just saves money. We have a very good example in Kiri-Tikkakoski project. The project team counted that when the bridge project, bridge design, bridge qualification, bridge production, and all project was purely BIM, and no any PDF document, no any paper was designed. There was 28 weeks of working time saved only because we didn't print anything. And I think this is very short, very small example, but if you put all that projects. In the same project, they counted also that that was 130 million euro project. They actually made 6 million more infrastructure because of using BIM in their production. So we really can be more effective with openBIM. We also make faster implementation when the contractor, client, all the designers work with the same models, define the same models. We don't have a lack of time, and we also get better quality when we optimize everything digitally, and then we just contract it digitally. And so BIM is really worth of investing. And we have lots of projects. Actually, our government decided last year to put more infrastructure project on than it has been for a long time. Our building sector is a little bit down, and when the economy is down, building sector, private sector is down, so the government always invests in the infrastructure, at least in Finland. And now we have more projects than ever going on, and this is the map of the projects going on right now. We have evaluated our BIM maturity in our projects. We have done it few times, and we use the common Nordic BIM maturity model, which we have developed with our 7 Nordic friend rail and road organizations from Nordic countries. And we have used this maturity model interviewing the projects. How do you really use BIM in your projects? And this is the results. First pilot was 2020, and then we have done it 3 times after that. Now we haven't done it this year or earlier years, actually maybe next year we will done it. And you see the level is quite there, 2.2, 2.3. It's very, how do you say it? It's very low, slow movement up. And actually I think the average of Finnish Transport Infrastructure Agency is not important. It's important to understand why different projects, they are all different projects, why different projects are in the different levels. If you look at those projects, I would say not so BIM orientated projects, they are usually small project, renovation projects, small budgets, renovation projects. If you look at these ones, they are big projects, mostly railway projects, some highway projects, and then we are in the middle. We have lots of like normal BIM working projects. And more important than the average, like I said, is to understand how we can get those low acting projects to the next level, or actually when we are very client oriented, how the project manager, when he starts the next project, what he can do that he can step a little bit further in the matrix. Why openBIM and standardized information flows? This is from our transport ministry, unfortunately in Finnish, but they have set us targets, and they have set us targets at 2027, which is actually not so far away, only a few years. The information flow from design to construction has to be all the way to the asset information systems. There is a lot to do, to be honest. We are working for that. I don't believe 2027 we are still there totally, but we are on the very good way. Asset register requirements. We have 5 different asset information registers. Those information has to be given. Those requirements has to be given as machine readable to our design process better than it's nowadays. And also one target they have guessed us that we have to increase the productivity in the markets. And in that productivity leap or productivity getting better projects, one important thing is better information management through the life cycle, and not to lose information in every step of the life cycle. And we have notice these issues to solve. Lots of information is generated throughout the project development, and then only some of them is used in the asset information. Very much information is delivered in the design, and then it's a little bit like regenerated in the construction phase, and then it's again regenerated in the asset information phase. We had last week a productivity workshop for our stakeholders, the companies which are working for us, and we asked them, what is the biggest threat that we are not productive? And one thing which came on, you have too many IT systems and you put same information too many times to the different places. And yes, we know it and we have to work for that one. And like I said earlier in the organizational chart, asset information systems, they have totally different logic than the project management systems. Asset information system for roads has to cover 78,000 kilometers of road network. There is a totally different information than when we make a small highway project and collect design and construction information. And like I said, we have 5 different asset information systems. So we have to, in future, we have to give that requirements to projects and they have to develop them automatically. Current silos, we call them divisions, cause inefficiency, but we have to live with that one. And continuous information flow also will save resources. And now, especially when our government they have given us record amount of projects, they have also given us a target. You have to put the operational cost 8% down. So we have to be more efficient. It's very, very easy task. Not very easy, but we have to work for that one. So systems must support machine-readable exchange, and of course we need cross-collaboration, cross-divisional collaboration between our different divisions in the organization. But we also have to work better with our consultant and with our contractors. That information, once created, is not put to too many places, too many times, a little bit wrong. Okay, we have started to solve this problem in the project information level. We have defined our project information system, and also now we have all the pieces tendered already to our organization. We have project information portal where we have all the information in different projects in the same harmonized way. Earlier, every project had own project information portal. Every project started the project with defining how do we share the information this time. And now we have made one time to use it, one way to use it, and actually also the project managers are very happy. Hey, wow, we finally can start using those ones, and we don't have to invent the wheel every day, every time. We have a tendered BIM tool connected to the project information portal, and we have also tendered the Timaha 2.0, which is a helping service for our project manager. And our goal is to keep that information in future to our 5 different asset information systems. And in that process, we have to get the best tools, we have to develop processes, we have to update guidelines, and we have to train people. And I think when this picture has been defined and we have noticed that, okay, project information has to flow to the asset information system, it has increased BIM interest in our organization. Earlier, BIM has been very much project thing, but now, for example, BSDD, IDs has also waken up the information department and the asset management department. So I hope we are collaborating with not so many silos in near future. We are working for that one. We have our project information heart is our, I would say CD is a project information portal, BEM, which is Builder.com, the Finnish company. There was in the previous presentation there was about security system, safety, and this is very important issue. We are living in the politically very hostile world. We have some very friendly neighbors, some neighbors are not so friendly, and this kind of project information data is very high sensitive data. So actually you will ask, where is the data? And I will say it's in the Finnish soil in the SaaS server, but security-based SaaS server. And then our Vectoria has tendered as our BIM tool of our organization, and that picture is from Tampere railway project from the Vectoria tool, where we we put to the project information portal all information, documents, cloud points, BIM models, everything, and then BIM tool is connected to that project information portal. And actually we started to use project information portal last year, April. It's huhtikuu in Finnish, and actually the project managers love it. There is already 900 projects established. There is 15,000 logins per month. So it's really taken in our organization a good acceptance. And it looks very boring program, but it's helping our project manager. And of course, BIM tool Vectoria is piloted, is connected to that one. And yesterday, actually, I get a very funny call. I will tell it. Our division director has shown this slide in our personal, whole personal information. And one project manager called me, Tarmo, I want this one to my phone. I need it in my project. So it's good moments in the slow development history. How much time I have? Still a little bit? Yeah. Okay. So BIM implementation, we have a CD. Everybody always asks, how about BIM in maintenance? And I will say, we have those 5 asset information registers. Their logic is totally different. Somehow they are information models of the network. And we want in future, like I said, design, construction information to go automatically to the right places. But not those systems probably don't use BIM similarly, and it's used in the project, but we need the information to flow. And we have started, last December we decided that we have to make a little bit more work to our ministry target. We launched InfraBIM standardization project, and it's led by my colleague Marion Senkwan, who is unfortunately not here today, but there is a roadmap, and we started, beginning of this year, we started with our new project, because we defined now we have record high amount of new projects. We have to, if we want to change the industry, we have to push for those new projects to take BIM in the implementation. And after that we can continue training, standardization of processes, information flow. And you can see there is BSDD, IFC 4.3, ISO 19650. So we are working for that one. But like I said earlier, 2027, all information from design to construction to maintenance. It's a little bit dream, but we are working towards that one. And we have started the IFC implementation workshop. It's led by Juha Hyvärinen, the buildingSMART fellow. Juha is a very good person he knows maybe the best of the IFC in the world. He's making the workshop for us. And this InfraBIM standardization project is going through. Actually, this morning, 7:30, we had a steering group meeting, and still the thumbs were up. Okay, so a little bit worse. We, as FTIA, we have been in infrastructure standardization projects in buildingSMART International a long time. We have had a wonderful international collaboration. There is some nice pictures. You can maybe recognize some people. Tina is there, and many other people. We have developed a common standard. Now my question is, can we do more collaboration also to implement the standardization. We can share good experiences with each other. We have lots of collaboration with our Nordic friends, Karin and other Nordic administrations, but we could do maybe more. We have noticed in Nordic road and rail administrations that we have everybody a little bit different view to BIM, but the problems are the same. And if I look for my USA friends and the Turkish friends, I think everybody has the same problems, a little bit different situation, so we can work even more together. And my last slide is we can start collaboration in Paris next June when InfraBIM Open, the very good seminar made in collaboration with the buildingSMART France and buildingSMART Finland. It has been in Tampere and Lyon earlier, already 7 times. This time, next June, it's in Paris, so it's even easier to reach Paris than Lyon or Tampere. So welcome to that event, and thank you very much. If you have any questions, you are free to contact me or Marion, and we will tell about FTIA BIM more. Thank you.
Will you take a few questions?
Yeah.
Great, thank you for the presentation. I'm curious about how do you connect the supply chain of the transportation, in this case, different job sites. You have material suppliers, you have subcontractors, you have a lot of small, medium companies that are linked to this process. How would they embrace this part, or how are they linked to the platform, let's say?
We have same information requirements in every project, and whoever is delivering the project, they have to give the information. They get the rights to use those portals, but they have to. We are actually not taking care in which software they are working. We just need information to our so we demand, we qualify the information, and usually in especially in the big projects, they are usually a little bit bigger companies working for us. But of course, they have their subcontractors, and it's a little bit, we put this as their problem to take responsible for the subcontractors. Any other questions? And if you have no, you can ask me also later in the coffee break.
I have seen the Spain government also developing a portal, a platform. I saw yours yesterday, Canada. I feel that all the governments are doing the same work in parallel, more or less with the same tools. Is any way to collaborate between countries and governments in order to do something more or less in the same way or similar?
I think, like I said earlier, already in the Nordic countries, we have defined that we have a little bit different situation now and a little bit different marketplaces. But I think we can, using open standards, requiring similar working open standards, we can do more better. But for example, of course, in every country we have good products, good workers, so we can do, but it's a very good question. We should maybe establish in buildingSMART International client room, client domain to discuss about our common problems.
Thank you, Tarmo, for an excellent presentation. Yes, I have a question, and by the way, we are looking at now our BIM tool and for some kind of procurement, and we are looking at you and at Norway, because Norway have their tool chain and you have yours, and I think we must choose one or the other, because that means also that we are getting the tool to develop together. We are sharing that cost and that development. So, yeah. So you know, yeah. That's what we're doing in Sweden. And I'm just having the difference between railways and roads are quite big. And we are struggling a little bit to align requirements there. Do you have any thoughts on that, the big difference between railway and roads?
Well, I can hear the difference because we were earlier rail administration and road administration, and then they were put together. And first, there's a funny history. First, everything, okay, let's combine everything into road and rail. And now I saw we are going a little bit, we go a little bit back, that we have a rail requirements and road requirements. But in the information management way, I don't see it's too much differences. The same, actually, in our same project manager in our organization can now, some of our project managers can make both rail and road projects, and everybody use the same information system. So there is a difference, but we can handle it.
And congratulations on having 5 different asset management tools. We have 30, and we're just over the...
5 is the main ones.
Okay, I figured.
Yes, how has the reaction from contractors and those who are to deliver the information? I mean, you already have a large number of projects in the system. How has the reaction been from their side?
Actually, I have a very good example. 2 weeks ago, we visited one random. We always go to some projects to have like that kind of checking that how they are working, and we get actually very positive feedback from one random rail project, also from the contractor, that it's nice that you have only one system to put. You still have too many systems to put information in the end of the project, but when that project information CDE or that system is in every project is similar, because most of the contractors work for us in the many projects. So the feedback has been so far at least very good.
Great presentation, Tarmo. Every time I hear you, I've heard many times something new and a lot of progress. 2 questions on the CDE for the project controls. Maybe it's a little technical also, but what is the technical architecture of it? Is it transactional during the project? In other words, because you're transacting a lot of volume, that is the first question, just high level, opinion on that. And the second thing is IFC. Where are you in the journey of? I know you've had your own open standards.
Yeah.
You started in 2003, but with IFC, just a little comment on where you might be with 4.3.
I've answered the first question. I'm not so technical person. It's very much project information portal, working SaaS, and everybody's using it through that one. I'm not so technical. The second question, we like Jack said, we have our own information exchange format. Info model, it's land example based. It has been in use. There is problems with info model. It's a national standard. It's not as implemented as IFC will be. So we can see that when we are going to IFC, we will get better tools, better information to our system. But because the old one is already used like 10 years, it's also one little challenge for us. How do we say, sorry, there is one working thing, we change it to another one. And so it may be making it a little bit slow, but in the big run, we are working for that one and we are changing to that one, but it takes a while. So maybe in a few years when I make a presentation, that's my new thing. Thank you very much, everybody.
Now I would like to welcome to the stage William Sharp.
We're the Will twins. I'm not on the in the venue, but we developed this together. So I'm Will Holmes. Yeah, there's the clicker. Okay. So we're going to talk about what's going on in the United States, if I can figure out the clicker. Okay. So I'm Will Holmes. I'm with the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, and I'm also the AASHTO representative for buildingSMART International. So AASHTO is the 50 DOTs and Puerto Rico and DC and some Canadian provinces We're working in partnership together in that organization, and we've created committees to try to wrestle down particular projects or challenges we have. And one of those is, again, information flow. Will?
Well, thanks. I'm the second Will Sharp. I work with HDR. We're an AEC company, a global company based in the U.S. with about 14,000 employees. And my background is I'm a transportation engineer. I've been doing this with HDR for 38 years. And the last 7 years, I've been working very closely with AASHTO on developing national open data standards, particularly on the bridge side, and many of.
And I should add, I'm an IT data nerd. I am not a civil engineer. So we're going to talk about, again, the vision for the transportation industry in the United States, what we're doing at a national level, also what the states are doing and some success stories, and then where we go from here. So, first off, FHWA published kind of the roadmap for where we go. And we're committed to it, and you can boil it all down to data needs to be accessible at the point of need for every customer, every consumer. And in order to achieve that safe, efficient transportation system, the right data has to be there, and that was something you were talking about, Tarmo. So, in order to achieve that, we also have to encourage, empower, nudge the different DOTs and all the members that make up that, as well as the contracting firms and everyone else that supports the transportation network. So again, to manage and sustain a safe and efficient transportation system through project development, as well as through the maintenance of that network, using digital workflows. So why do we need to do this? These kinds of tragedies happen every day on our roads, and I'm sure they happen all over the world too. It's really not about asphalt and concrete. It's about human beings. And so every day that a project is delayed, that's another opportunity for a tragedy. And I know in our DOT, we talk about safety over and over and over, and the urgency is to get people home safe at night. Simultaneously, there's an economic factor too. We can save a lot of money, which you were talking about. We have a very aging workforce, and the very hard to see graph there shows the upper level is overall efficiency within the U.S. economy per worker. But that flat declining line, that's construction. So there's a huge construction gap in efficiency, and also we have a very aging workforce. So we're losing people. We've got to do things differently. We've brought in some technology, but there is still a huge gap in what we should be doing. And that's where openBIM is our opportunity. So we know, just like you were talking about, Tarmo, this is an information ecosystem that flows throughout the cycle of life of all those assets. And so it's not about doing one project efficiently, it's always doing things efficiently. Henry Ford was quoted to say, if you could save, I think it was 50 steps with 12,000 workers, you would save 50 miles of inefficiency in your system, okay, in your project. The same thing happens with all of our projects. Well, we have to convert it to this, and then we have to do that, and then we have to, every time we have inefficiency, that causes cost, that causes time delays, and that leads back to tragedies. So we recognize the ecosystem, we're driving towards streamlining that, and that's where IFC and openBIM really creates an opportunity. This is an example from the Iowa DOT of the different software that they use in their life cycle. And again, it's not one piece of software, it's a huge smorgasbord, and each of you have these same things. You were talking about 30 different big systems, Karen. So we're looking at the same kind of challenge, right?
All right. Well, I was going to walk you a little bit through the state DOT efforts as they shift to digital delivery. And one of the groups I've been happy to work with the last 7 or 8 years is there's an AASHTO committee called the Joint Technical Committee on Electronic Engineering Standards. This is the national committee that had the IFC resolution for AASHTO, and it's really driving a lot of the innovation at the national level. And one of the things they discussed is how does a DOT move to full digital delivery? So they actually identified 5 levels. A lot of the states right now are at level 1 or level 2. What this is they're using 3D software, for plan production. They're starting to provide digital information to the contractors, but typically it's for information only. It's basically use at your own risk. And that digital information, this can be surfaces, this can be alignments, this can be Excel files, things like that. It varies greatly, state to state and project to project, sometimes CAD files as well. One of the areas we're looking at, though, is what we call model as the legal deliverable. And what this is the contractual deliverables, the digital deliverables become contractual. So they take precedence over the plans. In some cases, like level 4, they replace the plans. We call that planless digital delivery. So that's levels 3 and 4. 3 is, the model is a legal deliverable, digital files with some plans. Level 4 is planless digital delivery. And then level 5 is taking level 4 and completing the process with digital as-builts. So really implementing those digital workflows throughout the life cycle like you talked about, Tarmo. So I wanted to kind of summarize, and this is based on HDR's data, but some of the efforts in the US, we've seen a lot of progress, a lot of pilots toward moving to planless digital delivery. 2 states, Pennsylvania and Utah, have done several projects with planless digital delivery. They've been designed and constructed. So we're definitely seeing that. We're seeing a lot of other states at level 3, doing the model as the legal deliverable plus some plans. And again, these are projects that have been led and constructed. We also have a number of states that are focusing on how do they move their enterprise to digital delivery. This is a very difficult process. It affects the full DOT organizations. So many of the DOTs have developed strategic plans on how to move their organization as well as implementation plans. So all the ones that are starred there actually have a digital delivery plan or digital project delivery plan. And the last one are just some of the states we're working with. We really enjoy working with the states at the enterprise level, helping them develop these plans. I mean, the national standards are important, but also the state plans are very important. Every state is different. So with that, I'll turn it over to Will for national efforts.
Okay. So even though we started doing research in the mid-2000s about moving to BIM, it really wasn't until 2017 when the pooled fund study for BIM for bridges and structures got kicked off that we really started to get traction and momentum. In 2019, AASHTO, which again are all the DOTs, collectively said, we will use IFCs. Well, they adopted it to encourage it. It wasn't an overnight switch. And then in and JSTAN was formed, the joint subcommittee. And then in 2022, AASHTO joined BSI. So again, we're taking these steps forward. And now in 2025, there is now, FHWA has created a working group. I'm forgetting the technical name for it, sorry, Catherine. But we're putting together a kind of a leadership working group to try to wrestle this down, again, at a national level with key decision makers. And we're also hosting an openBIM summit during BIM week, which again is where multiple pooled funds come together, and JSTAN and others, and we're bringing in software industry as well as other partners to try to talk about how we get the United States to where we need to be. So I've said JSTAN several times. Again, we're a joint subcommittee which is made up of DOT representatives from different states who have expertise in specific areas, construction, design, asset management, et cetera. We come together to coordinate and facilitate this movement towards BIM. And then the subcommittee is actively engaging the various aspects of AASHTO because, again, AASHTO is a huge organization with a lot of moving parts. And we're also simultaneously engaging different industry interest groups, as well as the software industry, as well as buildingSMART. Will and Tricia, my chair of JSTAN, are co-chairs of the Roads and Highways, or Bridges and Roads committee within the US chapter. I sit on the Infrastructure Domain Steering Committee with Karin, and we are working there. I'm also on the SCTE, or I'm the representative for SCTE. So again, AASHTO and the US community is trying to engage constructively and learn as much as we can and simultaneously bring what we learn or what works for us and share that with y'all.
So we've mentioned pooled funds. You know, what pooled funds are, transportation pooled funds in the U.S., it's where all the state DOTs can provide funding for projects of national significance, you know, that there's no way the states could do on their own. So we do have two pooled fund efforts that are focused on BIM and open data standards. You know, one of those is the BIM for Bridges and Structures project. One of those is the BIM for Infrastructure project. And this map shows all the states that are involved. So this is really a national effort within the U.S. You know, we have a lot of agreement with the states. The blue states are BIM for Infrastructure, the yellow are BIM for Bridges, and the blue or the green are both. So you can really see this is the majority of the states. You know, we have great involvement with this. Federal Highway Administration has also provided funding for these pooled funds, but it would be very difficult to do this without this mechanism. So the pooled fund efforts, just to summarize the pooled funds, the BIM for Bridges and Structures started back in 2018, and this is our focus from day one has been openBIM. You know, how do we develop these open data standards nationally? How do we implement those? I can tell you this is a very focused group. 23 state DOTs are involved. We started with that design to construction exchange, and now we're starting to focus on more the digital as-built model and 3 exchanges that comprise that. And it's really about developing these national standards, you know, IDMs, IDSs, BSDDs, and having this set up in a repeatable and reliable process for our bridge projects. There's also the BIM for Infrastructure project, and they started in 2023. And I can tell you there's a lot more synergy between these two pooled funds. There are 2 separate teams working on this, but a lot of common states are involved, and we have a lot of shared goals. This project is always also focused on implementing these openBIM workflows at the national level. So one of the things we did with the BIM for Bridges project is we actually worked with buildingSMART International to go through our work plan. You know, how do we plan to develop and implement these national standards? So we did reach out to some of the international experts with buildingSMART, shared our plans, got input, and we really want to be in close alignment with the international efforts with openBIM. So the red areas there, those are areas that we're doing as part of the BIM for Bridges and Structures project. You know, we've already published an IDM that was adopted by all 50 states. We've already developed the BSDD and the data dictionary for our phase 1 work, and we are using the buildingSMART validation tools. So we definitely want to leverage off efforts of other countries, leverage off the buildingSMART international openBIM workflows. Another key focus area of ours is our stakeholders. You know, we've got to bring our stakeholders with us. In the U.S., we have 3 main national industry groups. ACEC is the engineering companies, AGC is the contractors, And then ARPTA includes a combination of engineering companies, contractors, and owners. And we thought it was very important to approach all these three organizations, explain where we want to go with openBIM and open data standards, and ask them to, where are you at on this? Do you support this? Do you not? I'm pleased to announce that all three of these organizations have put out either position papers or policy statements to say, hey, we believe in openBIM, we support this. AGC, I think theirs was well stated. AGC fully supports initiatives that standardize how digital information is created, transmitted, and permitted for use, including models, legal document, and open data standards. And talking to the contractors, they want that repeatable, reliable exchange. They want it contractual so they can rely on that data. So we've gotten great synergy from the national industry organizations. We've also been working with our technology providers. And this is an important part as well. We don't want to develop a standard that cannot be implemented in the software that we use. So many of you know Jeff Olette. Jeff chairs a group that works with our technology providers. This is open to anyone. If you're interested in getting involved with this group, send me a note. I'd be glad to connect you up with this group. But we really want to work with the technology providers as well and make sure that the standards we're developing are implementable and we get their input as well. Another key concern we've had from the engineering companies is, we're asking them to sign and seal these digital models. And our quality management process is not set up for digital models. It's set up for 2D plan sheets. So one of the projects that was recently completed is it was a national research effort to develop an industry reference to do quality assurance with 3D models. So this just was published a few months ago. This is available free of charge. But that's something, if you're thinking about, well, how do I check the quality of these models? I think this is a great starting point to give you some guidance there. So we're going to talk a little bit now about openBIM in action. And it's great to develop the standards. You've got to apply those standards. That's where the rubber meets the road. That's where you really find out how well the standards are working or not. So in the last year, we've actually had 3 bridge projects that are leveraging these national standards that have been developed. So by design, these are very simple bridges. We call these workhorse bridges. We've got 1 steel bridge, 2 pre-stressed concrete bridges, 3 different designers involved, 2 different states involved. And the workflow that we're really working toward in the US, our vision on this, is that the engineer, will be able to use the software of their choice to create the models. These are just some of the tools that we're using and looking at the US, but right now this is not the case. With most state DOTs, the technology that's used for a design is dictated by the asset owner, and that really impacts innovation. We also envision these national standards are critically important. You have to have these consistent deliverables. So we're investing a lot in the national standards like IDMs and IDSs and BSDDs, but we really want these standards to be formatted in a very similar way. That's very important for interoperability and really openBIM. So that's a key focus area of the engineers, is to be able to generate these IFC files that meet the requirements of the owners. Many of our goals is to actually advertise the project with IFC as a contractual deliverable that either replaces part of the plans or even maybe all the plans. So that's an area that we do feel like IFC, with the right requirements, it provides the information needed to build these jobs. And it also provides good information to use downstream with asset management as well. So that's really what we're trying to do with the IFC files. And of course, the contractor, I've been doing this for a long time, digital delivery with proprietary tools. It's a very different discussion with the contractors where you come in and say, I have an IFC file, what technology would you like to use? And I can get my data to your technology. So these are some of the tools that with the pilots that we actually investigated to use on the construction side, and really reached out to the contractors and the DOT construction inspection staff, what would they like to use, what serves their needs. Because there's very different needs, design authoring versus construction, very different needs for different tools. And of course, eventually we will ask the contractor for a digital as-built to really complete that life cycle digital workflows. So I've got a couple of screenshots too, just to give you a flavor of the pilot projects that were completed. This slide was provided by Michael Baker. They did the Steel Bridge project. This is actually out of the Bentley Synchro software, but it shows the IFC structure, it shows the attributes and meeting those national requirements. And this is the same bridge, using one of the free viewers. And that's the whole idea with this. It's all about the data. It's not about the technology. It's about the data and having different ways to access that data. This is a screenshot from the Iowa pilot, and it shows some of the detail in these models. These are very detailed models. Construction level accuracy, full reinforcement modeling. The reinforcement, it's probably hard to see, but we have all the attributes of that reinforcing. You can pull out quantities, you can figure out how you need to construct these. But these are very, very detailed models. This was actually in Trumbull Connects. We designed this with Bentley Pro Structures, but we were able through IFC to bring this in at high fidelity, to Trumbull Connects for the contractors' use. This is another one of the screenshots, and I really like this one. With some of these construction softwares, we can set preset views for the contractors. They're used to seeing the design in certain ways. Instead of showing this on plan sheets, now they can quickly navigate the model, and all this information, all the dimensioning is driven directly from the model. The model changes, the dimensions change. They also can pull out quantities, like the rebar and the footing there. It's very easy to pull out all the rebar for that area, if that's what they're building next. So it just gives them a lot of flexibility to use the data. And this is another example just showing the cross-section of the bridge. And again, the contractor can cut sections anywhere they want, right? They can look at the model in a lot of different ways with very easy-to-use tools. And then this is the last one I had. This just shows some of the complexity with the reinforcing. With these bridge projects, it gets very complex. It's hard to visualize this. By having this in the model where you can zoom and pan and turn things on and off, it just provides the contractor a lot better understanding of the design and, really helps them understand what it's going to take to build that, which gives you better bids. So a couple of key takeaways from these three pilots, and these are hot off the press. These I think one has let, two are going to construction in the next month or so. So these are just developed early this year. The first thing is it was critical to leverage those national standards. So we had all three design teams working together to leverage those standards to develop the data in a similar way. And that's using the IDS that we developed, the data dictionary, the IDM. I really liked how the pilots worked out as well. 3 different bridges, 3 different design firms, several design authoring tools used, and everyone did a little different workflow, and that's fine. As long as you get to the data at the end of the day, right, that's what matters. So each firm did use a little different workflow. We used different design authoring software. We also used tools like Quadri and Blender Bonsai to do some cleanup of the IFC files to fully meet the requirements. But we're very much working with the technology providers to improve those IFC exports. Our goal is to have that be much more streamlined for future projects. And then, like I mentioned before, consistency with the IFC deliverables is critically important. It just can't be IFC 4.3, check the box, it passes validation. They have to be structured in a very consistent way. They have to have the same spatial containment. They have to have the same IFC mapping. So that was very important for the 3 different firms that were working on this. They developed this IFC in a very, very similar way. So it's very easy to find information in these files. They're all very consistently formatted. Flexibility in construction technology. I touched on that earlier, but giving the contractors the ability to use the tools they want to use for construction. I think, and really having that highly detailed design information available for the contractors' use. And it's not only for construction, it's for bidding as well, to help automate their bidding process. And the last one we had is that I can tell you these pilots have been critically important to inform the national standards. We're changing the standards based on these pilots. We learned a lot from the pilots. Our IDM, we're going to be able to streamline that. We've improved our IDS. We're actually tying very closely now the data dictionary, the IDM, and the IDS. So we've learned a lot. We've actually, in the process of updating the standards we've done, and I'm really encouraging more pilots to continue to improve those. And then one other project I did want to touch on is this is from Washington State DOT. And by the way, all these pilots, including this project, these were all funded by Federal Highway Administration. They have a grant program, it's called the Advanced Digital Construction Management Systems, a very competitive program, but that really provided the funding for the DOT to really develop these pilots and test out these technologies. And it would have been difficult to do this without that funding. But Washington State, what they looked at is their signing inventory. For a state DOT, lots of signs, always changing, and it's one of those, they looked at IFC to do this. So their goal on this project was to really take their sign inventory that, and manage those signs throughout the life cycle using IFC as their common data environment. And this is one we learned a lot on this project as well. I wasn't personally involved, but from what I understand, there's definitely a need for more IFC training for the DOTs. And we also found some gaps in the IFC schema where we didn't quite have all the information we'd like to see on the signing side. But no, the DOTs are actually looking for other ways to use IFC as well. And there's definitely that life cycle, all the way through asset management approach. It's just, most of it's starting at design and construction, but there's definitely that approach with the DOTs as well. So with that, I'll turn it over to Will to wrap us up.
Okay, so where do we go from here? So first, as Will was saying, we need to expand the use cases for our standards. We will continue to do more and more pilot projects and then provide that as a feedback loop. We're actively working to provide go-by or example IFC data sets so that we can more consistently educate, but also test the different softwares that we're using. And then we recognize that stakeholder support is critical, both within the construction community, the DOTs themselves, as well as the technology providers. And so there is a consistent need for open dialogue from all these different places. Tarmo, you were talking about culture change and the challenge of that. We see that. It's very clear to us that within the DOTs, you've got some people that are, 2D plan sets. That's the way we've always done it. And we know we've got to grow them. So we know that stakeholder engagement is critical. Part of that means that we're developing role-based, we're working to build role-based training to support this. JSTAN is continuing to try to grow and mature data governance to handle these open standards. And then part of that challenge is the way standards are published. Within the United States, it's still very fixated on thinking about paper. And how do we do this? And we're trying to transform that because we're talking digital, we're talking technology, but yet all the rules push you back to how does it look in a printed book? So that's a challenge we're trying to wrestle down. So one thing we are taking on, which we talked about in the infrastructure room yesterday, the asset operation handover project should kick off in early 26. That's a partnership between, I believe it's Norway, Quebec, and Kentucky. And we're looking at a use case for buildings and a use case for transportation or roads infrastructure. So we're trying to make sure that there's focus and energy on doing that transition, because the majority of the work in the United States has been on the design construction handoff, but we recognize that's not the end of it. We don't want a cliff where the information just dies and then right now it gets recreated. We want to have that data flow throughout the ecosystem. So there's also a pooled fund study for IFC validation, which again, you've got states from all over the country partnering together to look at how do we properly certify that so we can use it in the contract, so model is legal document. So that project, again, should kick off next year and move towards that. And the QR code should take you directly to where the pooled fund is. Also, we're doing Bridges Summit. That'll be in San Diego in early November. And that's, again, an opportunity for all the stakeholders to come together, to share the good things that they are doing or have learned, and then also provide feedback into the system so that we can get the entire United States up and moving more efficiently. And finally, I just want to make a plug. This is something that is baked into Kentucky. It's really not about asphalts and roads. I'm going to say it again. It's not about asphalts and roads. It's about people and keeping them safe and getting them where they need to be. So I will tell you that every person there is somehow attached to the transportation cabinet. And what the reality is, all of us shape and influence people that you serve. So keep it in mind. And that's it. Questions? And the QR code is to the slide deck and links.
How can we collaborate with this initiative? I mean, we are a company that design, build, and operate in the US highways.
I'm sorry, I missed the...
How can we collaborate with this initiative as a contractor company?
Okay. Yeah, no, we are collaborating with external stakeholders through both pooled funds, you know, contractors, software developers. So yeah, if you want to send me a note, I can certainly put you in touch with our team. But that's something that as we're developing these standards, we're really ramping up our efforts with the external stakeholders, because this data has to work on the construction side as well. I'm not a construction expert, right? So we really want contractor input as we start to develop more of those workflows as well. So yeah, just send me your contact information. I'd be happy to connect you with the teams.
Thank you, Will and Will, for an excellent presentation. It's exciting to see how far you've come. I have a question regarding information security analysis. Have you got any clue if you've done any kind of information analysis on the risk of aggregating the data? Because we're right in the middle of this now. It feels like we didn't do our homework, so now we're backwards engineering it.
So when you talk about IT security, there's a lot of fun there. It was insightful to see how you were talking about it. I can only speak for what's going on in Kentucky. I can't speak for, because again, every state DOT is independent. And for Kentucky, we have a central IT that manages security, that manages roles, et cetera. And we have declared levels of whether this is truly public information, which one of the hats I wear is GIS, and we publish data out under the Creative Commons license, and it's free for anybody to use, because again, the ultimate goal is to give them information so they can build systems, Google Maps, Waze, whoever, so that they can get people home safe at night. So we're publishing data out that's completely public. We also have data that's deemed sensitive and locked down by role. So we're managing those layers of security. We know that we have partnerships outside of the cabinet network, so again, you have to bake that in from the beginning in all the different softwares that you use. And that, actually, we were talking earlier about signatures on not only the file, but down to the asset, to the object itself, which Eric Poirier gave a great presentation this morning that was quite interesting. Because again, I believe that's where we ultimately need to get to, the signed and sealed at the asset level. Because ultimately, that needs to carry through into the operations and management side, not just through the construction side.
I'm looking at the steering committee of the infra domain. I think we need an activity on the roadmap on information security, actually.
Okay, fair.
To bring all these experiences into the domain.
Yep.
Last question, please.
Well, thank you for exciting presentation. I think it's really going fast, some parts of the world. What do you think the level of preparedness at the different DOTs to receive those models, both to receive them in their systems, in the asset management systems, and on the for the employees and so on? Is it? I mean, that's the next step, and you touched it also in the presentation. But I think it's you get the models, and what do you do then?
Now, that's a great question, and unlike a lot of places like Australia and Europe, most of that focus seems to be on the asset management side and kind of working backward. In the U.S., we're doing design to construction and then working toward asset management. So yeah, the pooled funds both have a vision to look at those use cases, construction to asset management. That work is just starting now. So that's something that we, our focus, like the pilots up there, those are all design to construction right now. But yeah, that is our next focus, to start to look at what do we need through construction, like for fabricator use, and then what do we want for that digital as-built, and how do we leverage those IFC files to get to that. And it's a different use case and it's different information. And, so that's something we're just starting to develop that process with the pooled funds.
And I'll add to that, the software that we use currently for asset management is not prepared at all for 3D assets with the rich information that needs to come with it. It is not ready to scale to the billions of assets that are in our networks. So that's a challenge that we've got to engage, and that's part of the open summit that we're going to have in transportation, or in November. I'm hoping that we can talk to the software community, because it's a different thing when you start talking about big data, how you structure it and how you make that available. But ultimately, the consumer needs to have it in seconds, not hours. So.
And one more thing to add, yeah, it's been interesting. I've talked to some of the asset management professionals, and it's going to be interesting to see what data that they want to manage the system. And my personal opinion, the data they're going to use is going to be quite different from the design information. It'll be a subset of that, because it's hard to manage all that information all the way through. But yeah, we're just starting to have those discussions on, it's a different use case, what are your information requirements, what are your business needs for asset management, and then we'll develop our exchange, based on those requirements. But we're just starting to have that discussion. So.
Thank you. You had another, you mentioned that consistent IFC deliverables is a key point here, which I agree on. But you said that those 3 different pilot projects, you have a similar structure. How do you formulate those requirements to get the similar structure? Do you using IDS or IDM, or how is that set up?
That's a critical focus area of the pooled funds. If you don't have that consistent structure, you don't have the interoperability that we're looking for. So we're trying to be very clear on the requirements. We actually, the IDM for BIM for Bridges was, adopted by all the states. We wanted to make sure we had the buy-in on the information requirements. We are using BSDD. We are using IDS. We're actually starting to put out sample files now too. I think that's going to be helpful to everyone. What does this deliverable look like? So yeah, we're trying to really engage with our stakeholders and be very clear, these are the requirements, this is the structure, you know, and be as clear as we can. We're also working very closely with the technology providers. You know, the U.S., when you look at all 50 states, you know, that's a lot of projects, that's a lot of information, and the technology providers have also been very helpful to start to put that into their software, so the user doesn't have to do that IFC mapping on their own. So that is our end goal with this, is to actually have that in the software that people use.